10 Tuesdays, 70 days to a flashing red crossroads in our shared American future. Both presidential campaigns this afternoon apace in what's going to be a dead sprint to Election Day. Vice President Kamala Harris and her running mate, Governor Tim Walz, at this hour preparing for what will be their ticket's first campaign stop since they formally accepted their party's nomination, a bus tour of Georgia starting tomorrow. Meanwhile, with Donald Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance, campaigning in Michigan and Tennessee today and Pennsylvania tomorrow, that campaign is now adding new voices. Interesting voices is another way of putting it. A senior advisor confirming to NBC News earlier that both Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and former Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard are joining Trump's transition team. Again, it's a move made with the clock ticking. Mail-in ballots go to North Carolina voters in just 10 days. And 4 days after that, the first presidential debate between Trump and Harris, which now appears to be all systems go, at least right now, according to Donald Trump. The disgraced ex-president, a little more than an hour ago, posting on social media that he would take part in the September 10th debate. With such precious little time left, both candidates are seeking to frame the race on their own terms. For Democrats, that means getting back to basics. After the bright lights of last week's convention, Team Harris appears to be trading in glitz and glamour for nitty-gritty in the form of a new focus on everyday issues, so-called kitchen table concerns. Just today, the campaign releasing a new ad on housing. Take a look.
For most of my childhood, we were renters. My mother saved for well over a decade to buy a home. I was a teenager when that day finally came, and I can remember so well how excited she was. I know what home ownership means, and sadly right now it is out of reach for far too many American families. During the foreclosure crisis, I took on the big banks who exploited people in the housing market. And today, corporate landlords buy hundreds of houses and apartments, then turn them around and rent them out at extremely high prices. I will fight for a law that cracks down on these practices. We will end America's housing shortage by building 3 million new homes and rentals. We should be doing everything we can to make it more affordable to buy a home, not less. I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Expect much more of that in the next 10 weeks, an eternity in politics that will somehow pass in the blink of an eye. And that is where we start today with activist and CEO of All In Together, Lauren Leader. Also with us, Democratic strategist and MSNBC political analyst Basil Smikle. New York Times politics reporter Maya King is here, and columnist and MSNBC political analyst Charlie Sykes. I wonder what you make, Basil, of the fact that it seems we finally have a debate.
That we finally have a debate, and I think the issues that are being raised, particularly in this first commercial, is going to be it's going to be really interesting. And I just have to talk about it from a policy perspective.
Please.
The fact that she focused on housing, where the wealth of so many Americans is tied to their ability to own a home, or the equity in their home. I imagine that a lot of the undecided voters, and listening to some of the campaign folks talk, a lot of undecided voters, particularly in the African-American community, are concerned about housing, particularly on this issue of whether they can actually afford their first home. If you think about it, since 1940, or just after the 1940s during the New Deal, 75% of the homes that were created were starter homes. Right now, it's 8%. So that ability for young people in particular, for folks of color, for voters across the country to be able to build that wealth and to be able to sort of have that piece of the American pie has been so elusive. So the fact that she's starting from this position right now and will be able to go to a debate and actually talk to Donald Trump and say, what have you actually done for the people that you think you serve or say that you serve, I think is a great starting point.
Right, because Lauren, there's both the future looking, will I be able to afford a home? Will I have this slice of what has been portrayed as the American dream? There's also the just affordability crisis in this country and this sense of, does the person who's vying for office understand my life? Yep. Do you understand how hard it is to house my family? And do you understand that that is a fundamental question of safety and security? If I can't house my family, how am I supposed to feel safe and secure in this country I call home?
Yeah, and I think the two areas in which inflation has felt most personal for Americans have been grocery prices and housing prices, right? And the combination of high interest rates and the very low inventory that we see across the country has hit really critical voters, young people particularly, who don't see a path to any kind of affordable lifestyle. Many that are still living with their parents years after graduating from college. We know that's true. That's putting a lot of stress on American families. But then also the sort of, families with children who can't afford, making these critical choices between, housing and childcare and all of these things that are so painfully difficult to access. So it's a really smart strategy. I think there's going to be criticism that doesn't go far enough, that we need more. I mean, we could probably use 3 million units just in New York. Right. I mean, it's a down payment in a sense. But it's a good start. And look, everyone's been criticizing her for not having enough clear policy. Well, here she comes. It's a few days after the DNC, and she was ready with it.
It's really incredible, especially when you consider just, the policy wonk that she is running against.
Right, exactly.
Charlie Sykes, we've seen a lot of flipping of the script just in the last few weeks. You have the Harris campaign telling NBC News that Trump's multi-trillion-dollar agenda is a, quote, deficit bomb. How interesting to hear Democrats wrangling that back for Republicans, especially after the unmitigated spending we saw during the Trump years.
No, I think it's interesting that they're actually leaning into some of the issues that Republicans have thought that they were there, that they actually owned. And the fact is that Donald Trump is uninterested in being fiscally responsible. You saw that during his presidency. You see that in many of the proposals that he's making. Obviously, he wants to exploit the problems of inflation, but almost everything that he's talking about doing would make it worse. Mass deportations, taking away the independence of the Fed, imposing massive new sales taxes in the form of tariffs on middle-class families. So I think it is important to lean in on all of this. And I think that the details, look, I mean, I still have a lot of questions about the details of many of these proposals, but I think you're absolutely right, that what she's doing is saying, listen, I know that these are problems. I'm going to discuss them. And one of the most important numbers that you often see in politics is, does this person care about the problems of people like me? And I think that's the heart of what she's doing right now.